Maureen, and it should be turning on in here in a second.
Okay.
And it's working.
Welcome everyone to this virtual community meeting to discuss NPA 2022-001.4.02. My name is Maureen Meredith. I work for the City of Austin Housing and Planning Department, and I am the case manager who processes all the plan amendment cases for the city. If you haven't done so already, please put your name in the chat box. And if you're with an organization, if you could include that, I will use this as the sign-in sheet. Please mute your microphone if you're joining by phone. Please turn off your video if you're participating online to save bandwidth. This meeting will be recorded and publicly posted to the speakupaustin.org/NPA website. If you do not want your image viewed publicly, please turn off your camera. So as you know, this property is in the Southeast Combined Neighborhood Planning Area, the Franklin Park sub-area. As I mentioned, I am the Plan Amendment Case Manager. Wendy Rhodes is the Zoning Case Manager, and here is our contact information. I have this slide at the end of the presentation as well, and if you don't get a chance to capture it now, you can capture it later. The agenda tonight, I will go over basic case information, guidelines for group discussion, how to participate in this process, why is there a plan amendment application, what is a future land use map. After my presentation, the applicant will do a presentation, and then we open the floor to questions and answers. So the property address is 4500 Nuckols Crossing. Plan amendment case number is NPA 2022-00, and that should be 14.02. Project name is Sage in Franklin Park. The request is to change the future land use map from single family to multifamily residential. The associated case number for the zoning is C14-2022-0088. The zoning request is to change the zoning from SF2 neighborhood plan, SF3 neighborhood plan, and MF2 neighborhood plan to MF3 for a affordable multifamily apartment complex. Property owner applicant is Austin Leasing Housing Associates, and the agent is Jackson Walker, and Pamela Madeir is the agent. Guidelines for group discussion. Please feel free to type your questions into the chat at any time during this meeting. Please postpone general comments during the Q&A session. After staff and applicant presentations, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand symbol on the menu bar. Telephone participants will be able to speak during the Q&A session of the meeting. We will call out the last 4 digits of your phone number. Attendees will be muted upon arrival and through the staff and applicant presentations. Then staff will open the floor to answer questions in the chat or by attendees raising their hands to speak. Similar questions may be grouped together and answered together. Please mute your microphone when you're not speaking for the sake of sound quality and clarity of conversation. If you're having connection issues, please turn off your video until called upon to ask your questions. How to participate in this process. As I mentioned earlier, the recorded meeting will be posted to the speakupaustin.org/NPA website. I will do that tomorrow morning. You can email or call me or Wendy with any questions or comments that you have. If you provide written comments, they'll be added to the staff case reports. You will get a notice in the mail of the date and time of the Planning Commission and City Council hearings if you live within 500 feet of the property, and it will have instructions on how to participate in the public hearings. So why is there a neighborhood plan? Neighborhood plans are adopted by City Council as amendments to the Imagine Austin Comprehensive Plan. City charter requires zoning changes to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Most NPAs are amendments to a plan's future land use map, and most neighborhood plan amendments have an associated zoning application. This map shows the areas in blue that have City Council approved neighborhood plans, most of which have a future land use map, and they all have a plan document that has the vision and goals of the planning area and a future land use map. So the colors on the future land use map represent broad land uses. For example, single family is represented with the color yellow, mixed use brown, and multifamily orange. This map shows sort of a close-up view of the property that is better seen here. So this is the planning area for the plan amendment case. This is the aerial photo. This is a Google map that shows some of the surrounding uses to the property. This is the FLUM map that shows the single family on the future land use map that is proposed to be changed to multifamily land use. Here's the zoning map for the area that covers the plan amendment case. The zoning case, however, is a larger area, and you can see the area outlined in blue. The plan amendment portion is only the yellow because the other portions of this area within the zoning boundaries already have the multifamily land use. So this map shows the zoning on the property. So there's some multifamily, single family 3 and single family 2, and the proposed zoning is MF3. This map shows the larger area of the Imagine Austin growth concept map. And the colors of the circles and blobs represent regional centers, town centers, neighborhood centers, and activity corridors. The map here shows the property and where it sits in relation to the activity centers and corridors. You can see South Pleasant Valley is an activity corridor. The property sits within the Dove Springs Neighborhood Center and is just outside of the job center. This map shows the property in relation to the public transportation. And that ends my presentation, and I will stop sharing and let Pam begin her presentation.
Thank you, Maureen. I appreciate it. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for attending this neighborhood meeting this evening. We appreciate you all taking the time to be here. We're excited to formally bring you this project. By way of background, we have been presenting at the neighborhood contact team meetings and elsewhere for almost a year now, and so this has been a very long but enjoyable process in taking what our vision for the property was and listening to members of the community in the neighborhood and their items of importance to them and all of that, and including those and updating our plans to reflect things of importance to the neighborhood and the community as well. So this is our opportunity to formally present this to you as part of the FLUM, even though we have already obviously shown the neighborhood and the contact team at some of the contact team meetings our plans. We're excited to get to do so in a more formal manner to you this evening. So I'm going to turn it over to Austin Holmes. Austin Holmes is with the developer, and I'm going to let him introduce himself and his company, and then we'll take it from there, and we look forward to answering any questions you have. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Pam. My name is Austin Holmes, and I am with the developer called Dominium. We have some other members from our team here, Lily and Ryan. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, everyone. This is Ryan Lunderby with Dominium. Nice to meet you all.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. This is Lily Depry with Dominium.
And yeah, we have some other members on our team as well who are not in Dominium, but who have been working with us, who later in the presentation will get a chance to help field some of your questions if you have them relating to the services that we'll be providing at this property, as well as some of our plans. But with that, we can kind of get into the presentation. If you want to get going into that, and Ryan, if you want to just give some background on Dominium and this property.
Sure, I'm happy to do that. So this is Ryan Lunderby talking with Dominium. Just a brief background on a little bit of who we are. Dominium is a a multifamily owner, developer, and manager that has offices a few places around the country. But the team that's on the call today is based in Dallas, Texas, and we own and operate a few different communities in the Austin area as well. We're a 50-year-old company this year as our 50th anniversary, and really kind of dating back into the early 70s have been developing and preserving affordable housing throughout the country pretty much during that entire time. We're excited to be here tonight to talk about this potential project, the Sage at Franklin Park, and trying to create a new space and new housing for people in the neighborhood and the surrounding community to enjoy. And I think with that, maybe Lily, you could go to the next slide. So this is kind of the area or map that's showing kind of general context of the proposed project site. Dominium recently purchased. We didn't develop the two other communities shown on the screen, but we've purchased both of those from the original developers. One is called the Woodway Village community, and then another one is called Franklin Park Apartments. And those are two existing communities in this neighborhood that I know most of the people on the call are familiar with, likely, that Dominium purchased in the last few years and has done a pretty significant rehabilitation to each of those projects to improve both, the site and the building systems, as well as kind of the apartment units themselves and the community spaces for the residents to enjoy. So both of those communities are essentially completed at this point, the rehabilitations, and Dominium will continue to own those for the next 15 to 20 years at a minimum. And then the land that we're talking about is kind of sandwiched between those two communities. This is kind of our proposed concept plan. And I know Ken is on the line from our architect that helped us prepare these plans from Smith G Studios. So Ken, feel free to jump in at any time. But what we're proposing here is a multiple building community that would be 3-story buildings with breezeways and walk up to individual apartment entrances at each of the buildings, and then some pretty generous community spaces and green spaces throughout the site, including potential dog parks, large kind of green space areas for play areas for children, and potential walking paths. There'd be an on-site clubhouse facility and pool that would include on-site management offices and on-site 24-hour maintenance, as well as fitness facilities, supportive service, community space within the building, where our third-party partner, Portfolio Resident Services, would provide services to each of the residents at the community, kind of in addition to the typical day-to-day management that would be provided by Dominium. Ken, do you wanna speak to some of the design visions?
Sure. So as you said, that the buildings, or the plan is a multifamily development. It's primarily 3 stories. There are some instances, and it's the buildings indicated with a hatch pattern, where there's a 3-4 split, and we're the buildings are designed to step down with the change in grade on the site and provide kind of a basement level for dwelling units. And this helps mitigate grade change while also reducing site walls. The buildings are organized around this kind of internal drive, and it's designed to have kind of a neighborhood residential street experience. So we'll have street trees along that'll create a shade canopy, convenient on-street parking, which will help calm the traffic, pedestrian-friendly sidewalks, and the residential buildings are prioritized to front the street, screen the parking to the rear, and the ground level units would have front door stoops that help activate that streetscape. And that street connects a series of nodes of outdoor spaces. So that main entry drive with the clubhouse has kind of a rival court. So there'd be signature landscaping, the street trees, and also specialty pavers. Kind of the heart of the development is the central outdoor space, which would be programmed potentially with a kids play area, dog park, outdoor seating. This is kind of the outdoor living room of the development. And then that street terminates at the back of the development at this biopond, which would be enhanced through ornate grasses, walking trails, outdoor seating, to really combined with the kind of low-lying areas, which will be preserved to create kind of this natural asset to the development. And it's really about promoting a vibrant neighborhood community feel through these design elements.
Thanks for that, Ken.
So if you go to the imagery, it kind of gives you a sense of the character of the streets and also those open spaces and what those would feel like. And then the next sheet, I believe, is the concept elevations. So the architectural character represented. Now, this is very early on, so this is just kind of a representation of what we're envisioning, but it's kind of a craftsman-inspired style with a pitched roof, more of a timeless design using neutral and earth tone color palettes, also stone or masonry base with cementitious siding, and through the layering of materials, use of color, and the articulation of kind of the building massing helps create a more visually appealing design. Along the perimeter of the site, if you go back to the concept plan, where the development abuts the existing single-family homes, we're trying to provide an appropriate transition to the surrounding context. So in this area, we're setting the buildings back to create horizontal separation, but also if you go back to that section, we are proposing a minimum 10-foot landscape buffer and a raised berm to help screen the development from the single-family homes.
One more slide, Lily, I think would show that. Yep.
Yeah, so that kind of indicates on the right is one of those single family homes, and then on the left is the multifamily building. So you see that horizontal separation from the rear yard of the single family home, and then the 10-foot landscape buffer with a raised berm.
Thanks, Ken. So now going into a little bit of background about kind of how how we've been active in Texas. So this is what you're going to see now are just some brief pictures of some properties that we've developed in Texas to show you kind of the quality of the work and kind of what you can expect from a finished product from Dominion. This here Crossroad Commons deal is not too far away and is in kind of maybe about 20 minutes away in Austin, Texas as well.
This is another community that would be similar, and scope and scale, this project actually is in Nashville, Tennessee, but is a project that we completed within the last couple of years that would be representative of kind of the unit finishes, some of the amenities, the exterior finishes, and landscape, and then also the common area amenities, both outdoor and the clubhouse facility. And then this is one of the neighboring communities that was existing, called Woodway Village, that Dominium owns and manages. And this project we recently completed a pretty significant rehabilitation of as well. So some just quick before and afters of the work at the Woodway Village community that would be next door. So a couple of images of Franklin Park. And in total, we've the rehabs that we've and improvements we made were just under about $20 million at those two existing communities. Go to the next slide. So just a little bit more about Dominium. I think maybe you could skip to the next slide, but I think a couple of things that tell the story is we're a long-term owner and developer with a very long-term vision, and so we're not a builder that builds an apartment community and then leases it up, and once it's stabilized sells it. Instead we're in the community for the long term, and typically our projects that we own and operate, we keep in our portfolio for 20 to 30 years or more. And so and everything that we own, we also provide on-site management as well. So our thought process is to, because of that long-term view on ownership, is to really pay attention to the quality of the design and the materials that are used, as well as kind of reinvesting in our communities during that ownership period, so that the product that's being delivered to the residents is not only great when we open the building, when we first open the building, but also has that same quality 15 years later. We're also very proud of a couple of other things that we're doing. Just on we have a Dominium Gives program where we look to partner with the communities and make donations in the communities in which we work, and complete communities like the one being proposed here. And so part of that is a donation commitment that we make each year in and around the communities that we work in, and then also doing volunteer work. If you go to the next slide, Lily, the other thing that we've rolled out in the last couple of years that we're really excited about is kind of going beyond just providing kind of the safe and decent home for people that need it. We're trying to connect our residents with opportunity, and part of that is we've rolled out a scholarship program for the residents of our communities, in which we've provided over $2 million towards scholarships for higher education for residents of our communities. And then in addition to that, we're trying to think of ways we can provide job experience to people that live in our communities as well. And so we have an internship program where residents of our communities, and primarily the youth, are able to get job experience through either our management team or maintenance team or other opportunities within Dominium, to help them kind of provide more opportunity beyond kind of the housing experience. I think a couple of the concerns that in having kind of several of the neighborhood meetings before over the last 12 months or so, two primary concerns that we've heard from the neighborhood that we've addressed through the plan is to correct an egress issue on the neighboring Franklin Park community that we had purchased from the prior owner, and we've since corrected that issue to only allow people to enter the community off of St. Elmo's into Franklin Park, whereas prior to that, it was operating where people would exit onto that street, kind of creating some additional traffic concerns for the neighborhood. So there's been some improvements there that have been implemented, and as well as management practices at the Franklin Park community to address that concern. And then the other item was to eliminate any access to Nuckols Crossing that would be east of the proposed development, where there currently is an access point through how the land is platted. But we've agreed to design this in a way where that access point that would currently exist would be cut off in order to not bring additional traffic and curb cuts to Nuckols Crossing to the east of our development. And these are just the two concerns that that I just described.
So in addition to working with the community to figure out some of those issues, we do want to highlight some additional community benefits that we're excited that this new construction project can bring to the community. So first off, as Ken talked about, there's going to be a lot of green space on this property. This is an environmentally protected area, and we have designed our project very much in accordance with all the rules surrounding that. So we're excited to be able to feature in a lot of great ways a lot of the green space that's in this area, and really highlight it and make it a true asset for the full neighborhood. Because we're gonna have some great walking trails that everyone can enjoy. Additionally, we're going to have the clubhouse meeting room. Is going to be designed a little bit larger than our typical clubhouses, and we want to make sure that we've communicated with the contact team, as well as a local nonprofit we've been working with called Urban Roots, and let them know that that clubhouse is going to be made available to them for any community meetings that might be needed as we progress and as we get this project built. The last thing that I would like to highlight is that we are working with Portfolio Resident Services and that nonprofit I mentioned called Urban Roots to create a very, very great suite of social services for our tenants, to make sure that our tenants are set up for success. So Portfolio Resident Services offers a variety of different services to tenants, everything from financial literacy, legal assistance, that you can kind of see up here on the screen, fun classes like cooking, and things like that. So we're really excited to have them as a partner in this project. And we also do have Kendrell from Portfolio Resident Services on the line for any questions. Do you want to speak to, kind of what you guys do and how you're going to be able to provide assistance to the community?
Absolutely, and thank you all for having me. I just wanted to say that we'll be providing these services here. We currently provide services in the neighboring communities, as been mentioned before. So we have a pretty unique method technology that I like to employ to make sure that we're making an impact in these communities and focusing on the needs of the residents and also what they want to see, things they're interested in, to make sure, again, that we're having that impact on each and every resident there, from, as has been mentioned, just basic adult education programs with financial literacy courses, and really getting down to the nitty gritty of, hey, understanding finances. What does it mean? Really to make it a continued impact, not only in that community, but the surrounding community, is our goal. But then also, as been mentioned on the call, building a true sense of community and engagement. You see the plans and how it really looks like a true community. And then our goal also is just to invite residents out to our events, to come together and really get to know their neighbors. So we're having a true community feel here, and if their neighbors know each other and know what's going on and can communicate with each other, we feel like that will just make everything a lot more easy and great for the entire community. So we're excited about coming on, providing a variety of services, and as Austin mentioned, if anyone has any questions for me, I'll be happy to address those.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And the last thing we'll touch on here is something that we had heard is that, making sure tenants have access to fresh food and healthy food is something that's really important, and that can sometimes be a challenge depending on where you live. So that's something that we really wanted to address. So at the advice of some people on this call, I believe actually, we were able to connect with a group called Urban Roots that provides fresh food, that grows fresh food very, very nearby in Southeast Austin, and provides that fresh food to different areas, and to different food banks and things like that. So we are currently working with them to set up what we're calling a food security station for this project, to make sure that all of our residents have access to high quality fresh food. So as I mentioned, that clubhouse is going to be a little bit bigger at this project, and it's going to accommodate the space needed for this food security station, to make sure that having access to fresh food, healthy food, just won't be too much of an issue here at this community.
Austin, I think that wraps it up. And Pam, did you have anything you wanted to conclude with? But I just want to say thank you to everybody for allowing us the time to walk through the presentation.
Well, thank you for your presentation. I'm Mark Walters. I'm a principal planner with the Housing and Planning Department, and I'll be facilitating tonight's discussion, questions and answers. So there's several ways you can participate. The first and easiest would be just to raise your digital hand, and I'll call on you in the order that it's raised, or you can put questions in the chat and we can do that. So either which way, however you want to participate, it's fine by me. So if you have any questions, you would either raise your hand or drop them in the chat. Well, while we're waiting to see if anyone, I was going to call on the people who called in. If your phone number ends in 8136, do you have any questions or comments of the applicant? No, okay. For the individual whose phone ends in 5502, do you have any questions or comments?
No.
Okay. And lastly, individual whose phone number